Hello everyone. So today I have a very special guest. Hi Lanvin. Hi Sharon Lobo. Thank you for joining me live, and today I have a very special guest, and that is Gayathri Shukla. So she's the founder of Campfire, Kinship, and I would be having a conversation with her. She holds an engineering, let me introduce her to you. She holds an electrical engineering degree from the University of Calgary and an executive MBA from Queen's University. And she's also recently published a best-selling anthology called Landed. And she's also certified in an innovative method of storytelling called guided autobiography. She's a host of a podcast and co-creator of a video storytelling project called Unlikely Friends. So I'm just waiting for Gayathri to come live and join me this session. I hope I'm audible to each one of you, and could you please tell me how was your day? How has your day gone by and how's everything? Hello Smith Machado, Gotham, Brown Eyed Man. Thank you for joining. Hello Gladson. Hi Siddhant. Okay, so I'm actually waiting for Gayathri to come live. I have already informed her and she would be joining us soon. So until then, I'd love to hear more from you people. How's everything? Hello Smith. How's everything going on with y'all, and how are the last few days of December going on? Are you still waiting for January to ring in to start with your resolutions, or have you all already started living the life that you all were dreaming of? Hello Pradeep. Good evening. Yes, so I'm waiting for Gayathri. I've just sent her a message. Let's see. Hi Lobo, how are you? Hello Devraj. Hello Akshay. Hi Aldrin, Rachita Miranda. So how's everyone doing? Y'all can just type in the chat box and let me know. How was your day and how's everything in life? Hello Akshay. I'm actually waiting for Gayathri Shukla. As I've mentioned on my Instagram stories, I would be having a conversation with her on what's the power of storytelling in building empathy. Thank you. I too am fine. Thank you so much. So I'm waiting for Gayathri. I hope the connection is all good over there, because I don't see her online still. Hello Joe. Hi, Gladys Souza. Yes, so Gayatri is here, and
Hi,
hi.
how are
Yes,
you?
I'm good, Gayatri. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Okay. First
I
of all, thank
I
you
was
so
hoping
much.
that this works smoothly, but it looks like it is, so it just took some delay in
Yes.
getting online.
Okay, no problem. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gayatri, for accepting my invite. And it's such a pleasure to see you live. And I've already introduced you to our viewers, like who you are and what you do. So I'll just begin with the questions. You hold a degree in electrical engineering from the University of Calgary, and you also hold an MBA, that is Executive MBA from Queen's University, and you have 17 years of experience in engineering. What is it that made you live a life of what you're passionate about? I mean, I don't think it's that easy to leave a job where you've actually like lived that life for 17 years. So what is it that, how difficult was it, or was it easy? That's what
Well, it
I'd
was
like to.
definitely not easy. But just first, I want to say thank you for hosting me. I love the work that you do as well, and I'm really happy to be here. So, yeah, it was definitely not an easy decision. I think, after spending that many years, it feels like a big risk, right? It feels like you're leaving behind a steady paycheck, kind of a stable job. And, what are we doing when in this entrepreneurship world where there's no guarantees? But I think I reached a point where there was a vision that was pulling me, and it was enough for me to say, okay, it's worth taking that risk because I see a bigger impact and a purpose that's bigger than me. So I wanted my career at this point in my life to have that impact. So I think I was ready for it.
Okay, okay. And how was your family like? Your family, friends, and I don't know, how was it there, like the society? Were there people telling you? I'm sure that your family supported you, but were there people who were telling you that this is not the right decision that you were taking? And did that kind of bother you at that point of time when there were a lot of other voices that were coming in?
There will always be voices. I love this question because I think sometimes those external voices drown out your intuition, right? And you stop hearing your own inner voice and the truth of what it's trying to say. But I think they were all coming from, at least for my family, they've been incredibly supportive and they were coming from a good place. I know for my dad, especially, it was a big shock because my dad, he's also an engineer. And obviously, like being in a Desi family, this, right, Queenie? It was like when I finished high school, his advice, like my family's advice was do a degree that's going to get you a good job, that you're going to get, make a good salary after you get your degree. So for him, he kind of encouraged me on this traditional path for so many years. But I just feel like, I told my dad, I'm like, I'm old enough now, like I'm an adult now. I can make my own decisions and, don't worry. So I think he came around to it eventually, but it was definitely for him a big, big shock.
Okay, but then now they must be really very happy with the work that you do and the lives that you're transforming.
Yeah, now they are. Now at the beginning they were they were worried,
Yes,
but now they're getting to see the impact for sure.
yes. And coming to your work, could you please tell our audience what exactly is the work that you do? I mean, I know that the core subject is storytelling and empathy, but could you just tell us in detail about this? How important is storytelling, and how closely is storytelling and empathy connected?
Yeah, absolutely. So my main work is training leaders and teams in the use of storytelling as a strategic tool to build an inclusive workplace to build empathy skills, essentially. So, how do we use things like self-awareness, being aware of our story, listening skills, giving feedback, being able to validate someone else for their experience, even if it's different from our own. How do we imbibe those skills in a way that is intuitive and it's structured and practical? And I think storytelling is like, it doesn't matter what culture you're from, what part of the world you're from, it's such a universal language that people understand, especially when we come from a place of authentic connection to our own stories, as well as the willingness to listen to other stories. So it's been very interesting because I think storytelling is such an age-old concept. Like, it's been around since humans have been around, but it hasn't been applied in this kind of an innovative way in companies. So I think it's getting some traction in that people are seeing the value in it and seeing the benefit of it. So I've already had, so many people say that it's made them better leaders. It's made them more self-compassionate. It's made them better listeners and better able to connect with others. Like, just being able to show their human side in the workplace where, most of the time we're guarded or we're worried about how we're coming across, being able to move past that and just see one another at a human level, despite all these differences that set us apart, has been such a transformational tool for people. So really happy to see that. So that's kind of the major part of my work. Some of my work is also just coaching individuals on how to use story for their own purposes of telling their story, and also just how to build up that confidence. I think that's the piece that I see missing, is building up that confidence to say that I'm worthy. I'm worthy of my story being shared. I think for me, especially coming from an engineering background, I had to go on that journey myself. I had to figure out for myself, how do I find my own self? Being sort of the only woman in the workplace or in the field where I used to work, being the only Indian woman in this workplace, like that, it came with so many challenges that I had to find that for myself first. So I'm just really grateful to be able to share that with.
That's wonderful, Gayathri. And with storytelling, what happens is people are able to connect better, and they also get this feeling that they are not alone.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. And you also mentioned just now about being of different origin, and working with different kinds of people who belong to other nationalities. Could you also tell me more about your book? Is it it's closely related to that, right? And congratulations on that. It's a best-selling anthology. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I have my book over here. I can show it to you, but yeah, it's called Landed. And the nice thing about this is I use the same storytelling method that I teach in my classes for companies and schools. I decided I would do something in the community too. So I was so overjoyed to see so many people were interested when I put the call for applications around this time last year. We had over 60 people apply. So we had to go through a selection process. And now we have 37 stories in the book from 30 different countries of origin. So I led all of the participants through a number of workshops to help them, again, build that self-confidence to tell their own story, to brainstorm creative ideas on how to tell the story, what topic to pick, because everybody was just given sort of like 1,500 word limit. So as you can imagine, to try and, this as an author, right, to try and fit your words into that type of short story. It was interesting, right? But I think through the workshops, we had such a wonderful group of participants, and we ended up creating this environment where everybody could feel like fully supported and just be there for each other. And to your point earlier, Queenie, like what was so amazing for me to see was that it didn't matter where we're from. It didn't matter what our backgrounds, how different it was. We could still just connect with each other at a human to human level. And that's the power. I think the book is just the bonus of creating that sense of belonging, sense of community. We were able to get all of our drafts edited, and we had a professional editor who supported us Lindy is her name. And we got to a place where we could publish the book. But I think for me, the best part was creating that sense of community amongst women.
And also build that little tribe of yours in where
Exactly.
you really, yeah, right. And I also saw today it's also available in India, so I'm going to buy that book. And I also want the viewers over here to go and check this book, buy this book. There's both Kindle and paperback version. I will also mention it below this live video. I really can't wait to read this book. I also read the reviews and people were like, I did not expect the book to be this wonderful. So
Oh,
I just can't wait to read the stories of 37 different beautiful people. And that's how we understand. Because usually what happens is we think the world is cruel and people don't understand us. We are actually not connecting with the right kind of people. We're just stuck with the mindset where we are hurt, where we are emotionally hurt. Maybe when we make an effort to come out of it, we really know there are a lot of other people like us, right?
absolutely. I think what you
Yes.
touched on is so important. I think it's a process of healing, is what it is.
Yes,
And I
it
think
is.
writing allows us to not only reflect on those memories, but also work through the feelings that we had
Right.
attached to them. And even in this book, it's so interesting because there's some stories that are heartbreaking. There's some stories that are about, the struggles of immigration, like moving from one place to another and adapting to a new culture. It's not easy, right? And some stories capture that trauma, the grief, all of those things that come with that. And then other stories are about the joy and the gratitude and like the healing that's come through this process. So I think both are important and they're very important stories to tell. Like it's not about suppressing one emotion and boosting the other, but at the end of the day, I think it just becomes such a therapeutic process. And when you do it in a group, you realize you're not alone, like you said. So that's the best part.
Yes. I'd also like to ask you one more thing. In order to build empathy, I mean, it does require for a person to first of all understand themselves and heal themselves, and only then that person will be able to understand others. Isn't it right?
Exactly.
Otherwise we are going to feel so disconnected from other people, and we will not allow others to speak what they want to. We just want to shut them off.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
so that's where, yeah,
So true.
okay.
And this is why the self-reflection part that I mentioned in the storytelling process, I think that's critical. I think we cannot bypass that step because we have to reflect on when was there a time in our life where we also experienced something, maybe not the exact same thing, but we experienced, a sense of not belonging to some place, for example, or we experienced a failure or a loss and how we overcame that. I think once we start to reflect on that, then it's easier to start to open up to others' perspectives and empathize with them.
Right, it's not necessary only in a workplace. It also starts in school and in universities. There are times where we don't feel that we belong to a certain place. Maybe we are just out of that group, and that's where actually a story. Everybody has not just one story, so many stories, and we can, if we are able to heal, then we'll be able to come out better as better individuals and help others too to pick up a message from their story. Yeah. Okay. And could you please tell me about your podcast? And yeah, and you also have a video storytelling project, right? And I also keep seeing your stories, and that looks really amazing. Could you please tell us more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the podcast is called Heart to Heart. It's available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, most major podcast platforms. And the nice thing now is I've started to actually feature some of the authors in this book. So their stories, they talk about their own experience writing the story in the project, being part of the project, but also just a deeper look into their immigration journey to Canada. So that is now, those stories are now on my podcast as well. So definitely check that out. It's called Heart to Heart. And then the other project is a video storytelling project. And so because overall, with my company, Campfire Kinship, we're trying different multimedia approaches of telling stories. Like writing is one with the book, audio with the podcast. So video, we decided that we would try also because I think video is very powerful. So I'm so blessed to be with another group of wonderful entrepreneurs. So my co-creators are Shannon, Jillian, and Anshu. And we had received a grant last year to produce a few episodes. So our whole idea is we want to get strangers to meet who don't have the same backgrounds, to just have a conversation and showcase kind of how through the power of storytelling they're able to build empathy through those differences. And so we kind of not put them on the spot, but kind of put them on the spot, the strangers who meet, and we take the video, but we do a whole editing process to get it to be a finished story that we share. So that is definitely something I would love for people to check out if they're interested. It's unlikelyfriends.ca is our website.
Yes, that's wonderful. I'll also mention that, and it's such I mean, this idea is very unique, and I don't think like many people are there in this niche, not that I know of. And I think with this idea, and if people watch this, listen to everybody's stories, they'll really be able to connect. And congratulations to you. I'm really so proud of you, Gayatri, because this really requires a lot of courage, like also to allow someone to open their heart,
Yes.
because people are not so they are not so willing to open their heart. And it's only when they look in your eyes and in your heart, that's when they say, okay, here I feel safe to tell my story, and it's okay if it reaches out to the world. They don't bother about what others think, but like, the person they are interacting to. I'm really so proud of you on this.
Thank you so
Yeah.
it's so true. I think that's the struggle I see for a lot of people is, again, it comes back to self-confidence, right? Is my story worthy of being told? Or what if others will judge me if I tell the story? What if others take offense? And I think it is a process of healing almost to overcome those fears, to get to a place where we feel confident to tell the story. But I still think it's needed in our world right now, because with everything that's happening, right? I think we're going to need people to come together to solve these big issues that our planet's facing: climate change, poverty crisis. Like, there's so many issues, and I think we have to look beyond gender, race, all of these things, and just be able to harness our human talent to come together on these issues. And that begins with empathy. That begins with us putting ourselves in the shoes of the other to understand or sense what they may be experiencing. And that begins with that self-empathy piece too, like you said. So I think it's important work. I know it's not something that can change the world overnight. I don't have any grand plans to change the world overnight. But even if one person feels impacted or touched in some way, I think it's a success. So.
And if one person is able to live in peace and able to free themselves and achieve their dreams, that's going to be really wonderful. Yeah, I understand that. And apart from the work that you do, I understand the work that you're doing right now is your passion, and you give your heart and soul to it. What is it that you like to do, like spend time with your family? What are the other things that you do apart from this to just enjoy life? I know the work itself is filled with enjoyment, but apart from that.
I wish I could say I had like a nice hobby list, but I'm also a mom to 2 kids. So that takes up most of my free time. Is my son's 11 years old, my daughter's 8. So they're at a nice age too, where they want me around still, and they want to play together. And of course, we also do all of our chores and homework and all these things, but that kind of takes up most of my time outside of this.
I understand. I feel better listening to this because I have a 5-year-old, and from afternoon until like 7:30, I'm just with her. Of course, I enjoy that time because that's the only time I spend with her, apart from like, just dropping her to school in the morning. But then I really feel so glad to listen to this because even here, like, I feel that I'm not alone.
Oh, totally. And you get this as a mom, right? There's always a conflicting demand on your time. So it's really difficult, I think, to balance everything. But kudos to you too. I see you doing amazing work on Instagram. You just published a book, so congratulations. I know how much work that
Yes.
involves, and you're a mom, so you're balancing all of the balls in
Yes.
the air too. So kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you so much. And my last question to you, what's the message that you have? I'm sure that you have a lot of messages to give out to the world, but what's the most important message? What do you think that a human needs to develop, to cultivate in them in order to bring in their own inner peace so that they're able to understand themselves and able to understand others? Because I see a lot of them, they're just bottling their emotions, shutting themselves, and also expecting others to shut themselves as well. Because uh, I do a lot of one-to-one coaching, and these are the people like who come and tell me, you're the only person who's sitting and listening to me, because people need someone to just listen and not advise them. And once somebody is there to listen, their heart is free. That's all they want. So, what is your message apart from this, Gayatri?
I love this question. I think it goes back to what we started at the beginning of our chat. To me, self-trust. And it sounds so cliche, this be yourself is so cliche phrase that we hear, but I think there's so many layers of truth to that. Is how do you get quiet with yourself so that you can listen to your own inner truth, regardless of what others are saying. Like, you know this, right? Lo kya kahenge. That's such a big thing that
Yes.
plagues us. Regardless of that, what is your inner truth, and how do you get quiet with yourself to listen to that truth and honor that truth, and then be able to speak that truth and share that truth with others without the fear of judgment, without the fear of, again, lo kya kahenge. I think that's the biggest message I can leave, because I think once we start to be more authentic with ourselves, practicing that self-compassion, self-empathy, a world of possibilities opens up. And I think it just expands kindness and compassion in the world too, because we can connect with others in a more heartful way, and we start to realize what it is our passions are, and what fulfills us, right? So I'm just sharing what worked for me because I think for a long time I was someone who was also just kind of just following all the steps that society tells you to do, right? And I can see how much just listening to my own inner intuition has guided my transformation. So I truly believe that that's something everybody should do.
Yes. Uh, I know that's very important, because if everybody is going to think like what are the neighbors going to say, or what are the relatives going to say, you're really not going to live your life, and you're slowly dying when you're living. That's what happens. Thank you so much, Gayatri, for this very important message. I think this requires a lot of hard work, perhaps, for people to just come out of it, because I know, because I understand. I did not have any family pressure, but I had this, like, what the neighbors would say, what the relatives would say. And uh, my mother would always remind me, like, if you're going to sit and think that, nothing is going to be done, like, because she usually never thinks. I've never seen any woman, like, who just does her work and does not bother. And sometimes I used to think that maybe, like, how can somebody be like that? But now I know why she's so happy, and now I am on that journey, and I haven't come out of it entirely. I still think, oh, maybe, like, if I do this, somebody is going to think that. It requires a lot of hard work and mindfulness also, because we are so used to thinking that way. So yeah. So
And love that
Gayatri,
you
thank
have such a huge role model in your life, Queenie. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's so important, right? Sometimes we just need that one person. It could be your mom in this case, which is wonderful, a mentor, friend, somebody who says, I believe in you, right? So it just makes my heart so happy to hear that you have your mom
Thank
supporting
you,
you.
Gayatri. We really need, and I really wish every person has that in their family itself. And
Absolutely.
yes, and this generation, they really have a wide opportunity. They can be that for their own kids.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
where
So
it starts. Yeah.
where it starts. Exactly.
Right, right. So, Gayatri, it was so wonderful to talk to you, and thank you so much, like, for coming live. I was wondering if you would be very busy and things like that. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, and as usual, I love your work. I keep following you and each and everything. And my next step is to just order your book, read it, and then I'll get back to you on that. Thank you once again. Lots of love to you, and I wish you all the very best
Thank you
in
so
your
much.
journey.
Thank you for taking this time. I know you're also very busy and you're a mom, so I really appreciate you creating this space and this time to share stories, which is what I love. So thank you. I appreciate you, Queenie.
Thank you, Gayatri. Okay, bye bye.
Bye.
Lots of love.